This is TWiT.
Hey, Tim, I hear you've just introduced some significant changes to TotalView since we last talked to you on episode 240. Can you tell us a little bit about the bombshell you dropped on the folks at Cisco Live?
Yeah, so one of the things we recognized is that we have the largest data set of all of the different companies for troubleshooting. Error counters, performance information, QoS queuing information, interface configuration, all of that information back in one data set. And we figured, what's the next thing? So the next thing would be to be able to make that data set accessible to anybody inside the organization with a plain English query. So what we've introduced at Cisco Live earlier this week is what's called natural language troubleshooting. What that means is you can type in a query and say, what happened between San Francisco and New York at 4:35 p.m.? It will analyze the network, find out what happened earlier in the day at that point in time, and be able to come up with plain English resolutions like, between San Francisco and New York, you were dropping 6% of the packets due to a QoS issue on the Edge MPLS router. So it comes up with plain English resolutions that match that plain English query. And so what this means is anybody can do troubleshooting, and you can also do this troubleshooting effectively right in front of the user. And this was something I was frustrated with for years, is a user would come up and say, hey, what happened? And I'd say, well, I'd have to research and I'll get back to you maybe in a couple of hours, maybe in a couple of days, I can find out what's going on. And I just figured that's not the way to operate. If you knew what your network was doing, you could solve that problem and get the issue resolved. Now you can do it
this is
right
almost
in front of the user.
So this is right. So this is a great extension of like your network RXs that you have, network prescriptions, where it's telling you the problem in natural language. Now you can go and ask the question in natural language, right?
Exactly. And really, everyone's moving in this direction. You have Google, you can do natural language queries against Google. You can do natural language queries against a lot of different applications to get data out of it. And we figured this was a normal, natural extension in the troubleshooting world because people need to troubleshoot problems faster. And if you had a natural language input and a natural language output, you're just going to get problems solved a lot faster.
Great. Well, you mentioned Google. What about Amazon?
So yes, you're going to be able to use Amazon Echo Dot to be able to communicate to TotalView. So you'd be able to end up asking questions like this, where let's say you said Alex Dot, if you renamed your device, ask TotalView what happened between San Francisco and New York, and it would respond with, at 4:36 p.m., the San Francisco core switch, interface 12, dropped 16% of its packets due to a cabling fault. That way, you never even have to touch a keyboard, and you can get the relevant information analyzed as to what happened on the network to get the problem solved. And we just figured this is going to be the next stage of troubleshooting, is make it even easier than where it has been for really the past couple of decades of having to dig and troll through statistics and counters and try and find out what's going on. That's all eliminated now.
So I do understand one little detail for the people listening. You are going to have to name your switches something that makes sense, and you're going to have to name your port something that makes sense, right?
Yeah, and so that's expected. If you have a switch that is named AT5932, you're going to end up having the device end up saying, hey, AT5932 interface number 16 was dropping packets due to a cabling fault or a QoS issue. You have to make sure that you can make sense of that. And so having your devices named appropriately so that you can immediately interpret and understand that is going to be appropriate.
And so SNMP, the MIBs have been changing. You know, everybody thinks that SNMP has been around, it's been around, but SNMP is getting richer. There's more things you can do. There's more CPUs in these devices so they can leverage more information. And this is sounding like you're actually harvesting some of these changes in SNMP and taking advantage of the richer MIBs.
That's our entire game, is that if we can tap the information in an automated fashion, you don't have to go download MIBs. You don't have to determine, gee, does my device support these MIBs, and go out and try and query the information. And then when you find out, gee, yeah, it supports the MIB, but it only supports 3 OIDs, and you're digging at information, that's really not what your job is as a network professional. Your job is solve problems faster, get business architecture deployed, do strategic things that benefit the organization. And trying to troll through MIBs is something we see as really shouldn't happen anymore. Developers, companies like us, we should be doing that sort of work in an environment that automates all of that so that you can get problems solved. And you're not having to build a solution and saying, gee, it took me 6 weeks, but I finally got the right MIBs to pull certain pieces of data out of certain devices and do some sort of analysis of it. That's not really where network engineering should be. Networking engineering should be focused on building that next generation network, on designing and architecting that next generation network. The interrogation of what's going on these devices should be completely automated. And that's our entire game, is do that automation so that you can end up acting upon the information and resolving problems.
Oh, very cool. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Next Generation Network with Tim Titus, the CTO of PathSolutions. And Tim, where can they go for more information?
So you can go to our website, www.pathsolutions.com. There's effectively a link down towards the news that might not show up here, but it's going to be available where you can go read about the natural language troubleshooting and how this is going to work. We're going to have a video that also goes through that and shows you a little bit of that capability. Now, this is not something that's available immediately. This is coming in our September release. We're doing the QA on this right now, and I got to tell you, it's really cool to be able to talk to the network and find out what's going on. So the QA testing is something that we're spending a lot of time on because this has to be done right. But it is really cool. It is really neat. I can't hold back my enthusiasm about this just by how cool it is. But it's the sort of thing that I figure you're going to want to play with yourself. But it is coming in September to customers who already have a support contract. So if you buy before September, you end up getting it for free. After September, though, it is going to be something that we charge for. So when that is released, it is going to be a separate module.
Oh, it sounds like I've actually got an excuse to go and buy an Amazon Echo. Oh, I wonder how I'm going to get that past my fiscal officer. Okay, well, anyway, Tim, thank you very much. And this is TWiT.